All right, guys, welcome to today's live stream and video. If you're watching this in the future, first of all, could you please DM me whatever the cure is for this coronavirus stuff? I was thinking about that joke like the whole past 15 minutes. I'm sorry. But anyways, for you guys in the future, if you want to check out any of these live streams going forward, there'll be a link down below in the description where you can go to my website and see my stream schedule. But if you were not aware of what happened yesterday, we had a live stream where we kind of got the basic outline of a timecode track written down. To go over the software that we're using real quick, this big piece of hardware right here, this is a GrandMA 2 Lite. It is the brains of everything that we'll be using today. This is our virtual stage. It is a 3D visualizer program called Capture. This is their Capture 2020 edition, Symphony edition. We'll also be using a piece of software called Reaper. Reaper has a free version, but as you might be able to read up in the top title bar, I have a commercial license, so don't report me. In addition to that, we will be using nothing. That's it. Those are the three things we're using today. So this is a track from one of the artists that I work with, a good friend of mine, Zomboy, Josh. Zomboy. And we have gotten through the first 15 seconds. No, we've gotten a little further than that. We've gotten through the first 30 seconds. So let's just take a look and see what we got. I made a few edits while you guys weren't looking. Why Capture over WYSIWYG? Well, it's because the simple fact is that I own Capture. And it turns out that the copyright gods have already struck us down from yesterday's video. And if you see any sort of delays with the video and the audio, I promise you that the timing looks decent on my end, so it might be an OBS encoder delay type thing. So I'm hoping to get about another minute of the track done in this stream, and then upload a full rendered out version for everybody to see on YouTube. So that's really as far as we have gotten. And with that said, we'll just hop over to our main screen here. I'm going to try, if anything is exceedingly difficult for you guys to see, I'm going to try to remember to switch over to certain screens so that you can see what's going on. What you'll primarily be seeing is on the screen immediately right here. This is screen number 2. You'll be seeing me do things like edit values in the programmer. And that's where I usually pull up my queue list. So you'll see the queue list with the names of each queue in that window. The window to the left of that one, which is this guy, is primarily my layout view. And then since I don't have a full size, I also have all of my timecode macros, sequences, all that good stuff over there. Screen 1, if it'll populate here, I don't do a whole lot down here. This just has some utility macros for it at the moment. Cool. So I'm gonna get right into it. Let's see, you guys should be able to see everything here. And of course, my neighbor's car starts honking uncontrollably. Josh doesn't own the track, that's the thing. It's the label. It's whoever owns the publishing rights. If I want to license tracks to be able to monetize videos like this, it's okay. I don't care if the stream is monetized with ads. That part doesn't really matter to me. It's the whether or not it gets taken down, because sometimes certain rights holders will have more strict rules for publication. But this track, I checked yesterday, has no restrictions as far as region locks. So everybody in the world can watch this video, but I just don't get ads on it, which is fine with me. I think I want to add on this hay, I want to add in the vipers on the side specials. So if I add that there, yeah, I like that. Now I got to work on this next part where it's like the dun dun dun. Okay, so this move follow, I need to change the amount of time to whatever it was before, which is, I think it's actually half time. The thing with this fade time is I want it to be completed right at the moment where I need to reposition them. So we'll go to our beam world. We will highlight them to see where they're currently at. And we'll send them all the way down. Store that into our move follow queue. Okay. So I think I'm actually going to reduce the amount of time and then change it to our mid position. Yeah, I like that. So I reduced the amount of time for the fade, but to balance that out, I reduced the distance that the lights move. So on the this is part, I want to switch the I want to switch the axioms so that they go to white and strobe, just because it's very violent. So I want to make sure that my timing lines up. And make sure that my blue bar doesn't finish by the time. So I'm going to change it to like 4.5 seconds. I just want to make it so that when that last hit hits, it's still moving and it hasn't already stopped. And it has in that point. So we'll go 5.2 seconds maybe. The thing about time coding is just got to experiment, which is what we're going to do today. So I don't know. So I'm going to reduce the time off on this, maybe not that much, 0.75. We'll take a quarter of a second off of it. So we'll increase our time just slightly, 5.6 seconds maybe. So I only want that white strobe on the is part of it. And there's enough time after that last little fade out that I don't have to use the color wheel to switch to white really quickly. That's like one of the big benefits of using the color wheel, is that you can snap positions really quickly, and usually red and white will almost always be right next to each other, so you can quickly snap. Yeah, this demo template file, even though you can really use whatever you want, is Viper profiles for the spot fixture, Viper performances for the profile fixture, axioms for the beams, color force 72s on the upstage floor, the ones that are in like a deep indigo right now, the linear ones, quantum washes, and JDC ones. I think that's it on the stage. Oh, and some like WW4 blinders. Oh wow, Jason's throwing knowledge about the difference between on PC and regular nodes in the chat. That's some homie level advice. That's like the worst thing when I have to break the news to people that they have a node that doesn't unlock parameters. Okay, let's see what time this actually starts. So at the break, I want to switch to white. So I'll go to my color presets. We'll go to white. And then on the is, I've already kind of time coded some of these before. So I was sneakily editing some things before we went live here. Oh, let's see. Let's go to max strobe. So on is, so the is needs to come a little bit sooner. I find that button presses are better managed in the graphic editor. Just because you can actually see the number of frames. So I'll pop you over here. So you can actually see the duration. Each one of these is a frame. So if I know that I want, oh my goodness. If I want this keyframe to start the very next frame afterwards and be twice as long, I can visually see it here. Okay, so the is needs to come a lot sooner. Oops. That works pretty well. There's a tiny little bit where you can see that it's still red. So what I'll do is I will shift our keyframes back like 2 keyframes total. Because I liked the duration, but it was just a little bit too early. And then in the main timecode sequence all the way up at the top here, I'm going to move that break queue just back a few frames so that color mix happens a little more seamlessly in the background. And it didn't work. Okay, so that break, I need to make sure that beams go off. It should. I could also just look at the exact time. You hear that little tiny wind down? That meow. I can also go in here and look at the exact time. So if I scrub in here, oh, sorry, you guys are getting strobed. Whoops. I can't do it at a festival, so I might as well do it to 235 people in the stream. Yeah, if you guys have questions in the chat, thankfully YouTube fixed the whole thing where you can't see the chat during the replaying of the stream. That was so stupid. For a long time, the live streams you could not see the chat, so any interaction is completely lost for the future. But now I can read questions that you guys have later. So if there are any unanswered questions at the top of every hour, so in another 40 minutes here, and then the hour after that, and then finally at the very last bit, we'll wrap up with some Q&A. Name of the software is Grandime 2. Okay, so we are at 58 seconds and 901 thousandths. Does anybody know in Reaper if you can change how it looks to be in frames? Can you go by frames in Reaper? Does anybody know where I would go for that? I think maybe preferences and then media? I'm actually not sure. I don't really want to Google it right now. Anyways, if there's anybody... Oh, maybe it's in playback? Seeking? Oh, no, pre-roll 1,000 milliseconds. No, that's not it. Okay, I give up for now. But, so I've got my time of 58.912 seconds. And I can just subtract 2 seconds from that because I had a 2-second pre-roll. That brings it to 56.92, which I guess you can type in... Let me see if this will work. Not sure. No, that doesn't do it. That's not right. But I mean, 0.9 would be what? 90% of 30, which is what? 90% of 30 would be 27 frames. So that should be frame perfect, but as we know, I don't know if I like it, but if the timing's right. Right click ruler and bottom proportion is hours, minutes, seconds. Right click the ruler and go down to the bottom-ish. Oh, hey, there we go. Hours, minutes, second, frames. Yeah, but I don't think that... Yeah, it doesn't scrub that way, though. I'm looking for a way to, like, scrub to the nearest. Oh, well. I'm not too heartbroken over it. You'll stick to audio? That's okay. More for me. Okay, so that little, like, hit section. I want to, I think I want to add, like, a fan or something. And fun thing about this is that these buttons are all the same cue, but they just have a different the same sequence. They just have a different world assignment to them. So this one has the upstage world. This one has the midstage world. This one has the downstage world. That's right. You know what? I think I'm going to leave them on individually. Right? I think that'd be kind of cool. So leave all these buttons on until the point where that beam hit comes in, right? I think that'd be cool. Dun, dun, dun. So I can just scroll up a little bit here. Collapse this. Collapse that. Because I don't need to see the intensity. Maybe shrink these up a little bit. And then if I can play around with the time assignment on these, and we'll see how it looks. Yeah, I like that better. But let's see how it looks if I fade them out at the end. So go 1, 2, 3 out. Oh, Jesus. So the nice thing about assigning these sequences to different worlds is that you can change the individual off time, is what it's called. You can do this through a macro, but if I've only got 3 of them, I'm only going to do it in a macro. Or only going to do it manually. So I'll do like 0.2 seconds. I also added a little pulsation to these guys. Okay. We're getting there. Although I'm not sure if I'm totally sold on the beams being the one that do the strobing. I think for those quantums, I need to make the difference a little more apparent. Yeah, I like that. Maybe go down to 5. No, 12. 12's good. Yeah, the song is Zomboy Battlefields. Actually, I have an old version, but I went and actually bought bought the song on Beatport so that I could do this. Because I wanted it in a wave file. Whoops. Seemed to fit. Oh my goodness. I want to increase our Width, maybe go to like medium, I think is fine. So here's another quick little idea. When those upstage, midstage, downstage trusses hit like that with the Vipers, I think I want to do it so that when they come on, the corresponding row of quantums turns off. So it'd be like these guys. Oh, I forgot to stomp it. So those will turn off there. And here. Although technically, since this is all one sequence, I think it would have just worked. So I did something stupid here, and I'll show you. Because this is a world on each one of these executors, it's the same sequence. So I could have just grabbed all of those at once. I didn't have to store them separately, which is the power of why I even do it in the first place. Okay, yeah, I like that. So now because of that stomp, these guys will then I think I'm going to add in so everything's indigo right here. And I want to leave that row of color forces indigo. Why would I set the face cam to manual focus? I move around. That's the whole reason for having autofocus, because I don't want to pay someone to operate it. Is it really that far out of focus? I don't think it is. So right when we get to so at this, I need to add another cue, I think. No, build is fine. I can leave it in build. So in build, I want to change the washes to red. Store 15 makes it so that I store Q15. That's the default after you hit store. So you see how there's a slight I don't really like that. But what I could do, if I take them to 0 and stomp the dimmer, because they were doing that like little heartbeat pulse thing previously, and I add that to Q15 and merge it in, then they should stay off. Kind of, but build needs to come just a little bit closer. Just a tiny bit, so I'm going to edit that Q. Grab it, and we'll move it back like 3 frames. We'll see how this goes. Just want to get rid of that little flash there. So I think we're good as long as this first beam hit. I want to build this into, yeah, this will work. So I'm going to add washes into my beam hit queue. And I'm also going to change their position in the move follow queue. And why not? We'll do the fade too. Or actually, let's do let's make them narrow so we can see the beam. Really nice and sharp for a wash. The quantums get pretty narrow. The quantums have this cool feature on the zoom channel. Because the front lens rotates, you can like push it through. It's pretty cool. And it like overdrives the zoom. It's not the whole like front thing that rotates, but the lens inside rotates. Oh, Gary Ford is in the chat. Hey, Gary. So I'll add that back into our build queue, and I'm going to annotate this as remark quantums, or washes, MH1. Okay, so now I can add those washes in with the rest of that that queue. I think that looks pretty cool. Continue down the rabbit hole. Have I linked this video on the other video yesterday in the title in the card? No, not yet. I'm gonna wait until I get. I'm not sure if the link stays the same. I think it does, maybe. I didn't want to gamble on it, however. Okay, so we'll add that into the is queue. And I think it would be fun to do kind of like a, let's see here. I'm not sure. Thing about color forces is you can't, there's no strobe channel in the 48 channel mode or the 36, which is what I'm currently using it in. So what I can do so I need to change these to white. Okay, so I'm going to make very quickly an effect for my static LEDs because I don't have one already made for PWM going really fast. Or maybe I do. Yeah, I do. I'm an idiot. Man, opening the door in my room was a great idea. Dun 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 dun. Let me do. start first. So with the little hats section right before the drop, I thought it would be fun to, instead of just doing like a typical like blinder hit or whatever, it could do the blinders in 3 sections. So to do that, oh, I just lost my face cam. Hang on 1 second, everybody. I'm sorry about that. It might just be out of battery. It's amazing how that works, huh? Yeah, for some reason it stopped charging. 1 moment, please. Professional streamer, everybody. Luckily, I have an additional battery. You guys want to hear battery ASMR? Pro streamer. Alright, should be back. For some reason, the USB-C adapter is not... let me confirm that we're actually charging. Okay. It's charging this time. There's a million things to go wrong. Time for the Tiger King. Oh my god. I'm more into King Tigers. I'm also going to add a gobo to those hits. Oh, I forgot. I was going to do the hats. That's right. So in this first cue, I'll select the first set of 3. Store cue 1. I don't have to even say 1. I just, out of habit, still do it. Full. Store 2. Full. Yep. Store 3. And then tap the cue. You don't have to clear out every time you store something, unless you keep... There's an option in the programmer where you can change the behavior of this, but by default, and how most people and I do it, when you hit store, it basically takes everything that is in the programmer and just like puts it in the destination. So you don't have to like clear out your programmer or do anything like that after you store something. So now, we could do this a couple ways. If I change it so that this tracking is off, because I only want 1 at a time to come on, so like 1, 2, 3. You can change it so that it is not a tracking cue list. So if I turn off tracking, only the contents of that 1 cue in that sequence, so only things that were stored to that cue, will play. That's different than tracking because tracking has a memory of everything that happened previously in that list. It's like a sequence of instructions. Whereas when tracking is turned off, all of the instructions have to be in that queue that's currently playing. So because I stored this look to Q2, it goes away as soon as I go to Q3 because I turn tracking off. Okay, we got about 15 minutes until we do a quick little break for Q&A and drink water, the usual. But I'm going to do this a slightly different way. Maybe I'm not. I think I'm going to change this to a temp and do it slightly different. So you can, like I said, you can do this a couple ways. I'm going to change this so that the next cue is the one that fires, and change it to temp instead of go. The caveat here being, you have to make sure that your cue is in its last cue. You can see which cue is going to fire next and which cue was previous or at the end. Okay? So if you look at screen 1 here, down where it says hats, you can see there is a temp button and Q1 below and Q3 above. So Q1 is going to be the first one that gets hit. So I'm going to go record that and again change my off time because I like a little bit of fade out. Can't remember if I actually put it in here. Let me check. Hats. Oh, I see hats. Yep, they're there. Delete that. I don't know if this method that I'm using is going to work. I might have to redo how I just did this, but that's okay. I think what I'm going to do is just make it really not sure. I don't want to do 3 separate buttons because that kind of annoys me, but I might just end up doing it. Yeah, I'm just going to do it for simplicity's sake and speed this up a little bit. Delete Q2 through. So now we are just left with this boy. Yeah, I think I like this better because then I can have a little more control over the fade out time of each one so they can overlap a little bit. Yeah, I'm bummed that I have to do it this way, but I think this is maybe the most flexible way to do it. I also think I have sequences already made up in my like busking section for this that I could just use. I try to keep everything pretty separate though, so it's easy to troubleshoot later. This should be, oh my goodness, how did that get so high? Yeah, that's fine. I'm okay with that. Did I not record it? I must have not recorded it. Yeah, so we'll keep that, and then we'll begin filling in the rest here. I know it's hard to see, but the lights are like pulsing back and forth. Keep forgetting to add those gobos. So let's do that. There's children crying outside. Natural selection, do your thing. For times like this, sometimes it's worth the effort to have an indexed position. But with indexed positions in your lights, indexing being the exact rotation degree, because there's a couple modes in these fixtures. You can have continuous rotation, which is what you're seeing right now, or you can have indexed, degree by degree. Not a lot of people really bother with index positions except for like theatrical or very specific broadcast situations. For like live shows, you're hardly ever going to see indexed gobos unless it's like a logo or something. But it's cool sometimes because you can index like straight ahead and then index like a 90 position and then chase between those two. But the problem is, since I have these fanned out like this, like fanned inward like that, the problem becomes, because it's off axis, it naturally looks like it's rotated anyways. So sometimes it's not worth it. It's a long way of me saying I'm not going to do that. I do like these Tiger King stripes though. Pretty cool. All my cool cats and kittens. Oh, that's cool. And then like the little tiny details that I do are like I have the left side go in opposite direction. And then you can even, get ultra cheeky with it. Just so that they counter rotate. It's kind of cool. So I need to remember to turn off the dimmer since I don't want to store that. Or you can do what's called, oops. You can select and then deactivate, which will leave it in the output for the programmer, but it won't store it. Viking Designer, what's good, CJ? What's up? 260 concurrent viewers? No. 260 friends. Am I right? Now I gotta remember, this is an important thing for the freeze button. So if I'm doing a lot of programming and bouncing between cues that are already recorded, I leave freeze on. So I think breakdown remark vipers will go there. Clear out. Yeah. And then I'm going to turn off these color forces. Oh, I know why, because they still have that effect going. Shortcut to doing this, if you hit MA at and then select an attribute, or you can just hit please, it'll stomp everything in all attributes for your selection. You can do it that way. I'm gonna move the 2x a little bit up, I think. I think that's where our overlap is coming from. Yeah. So now they're no longer overlapping. Yeah. So when those keyframes from different cues were overlapping, a little bit of the previous cue was like flashing before the values could change. I need to put this mic on the other side of my face, don't I? It feels weird over there though. Although I did just use... Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I am going to store that in a different place, though. I'm going to wait for it to... Yeah, I'm going to store that here. Oh, not two-part objects, one-part object. And then increase the intensity for those hits. Here's a fun one you can do too. After you've stored an effect into a cue list, you can go in and make more tracking updates to like the speed or something. So if I wanted this to be 150, I can make it so that just the speed doubles and nothing else changes. Just gotta make sure the timing's right. Yeah, that timing looks alright. So now I just need to stomp. To do this without doing anything on the UI, you could just do group 2, MA stomp, and then dimmer for this break. I really don't even know what I'm going to do for the drop yet. Oh, Geezers of Gear mentioned you in their story. Very nice. Did a cool little hangout with some industry people who were doing a... Oh, I didn't mean to open this drawer here. Hang on. I've been caught. You guys have now seen what's in my desk drawer. That'll be a video in itself. This is stolen from you know who. Can you see this? Focus. Shh. Green and perp flyouts. It's not a bad idea. Actually, I do kind of like that. Okay, we're at 1 hour, so we'll stop here for just a few minutes, catch up on chat, see what the lay of the land is before we go too much further here. See if there's any questions. Let me just scroll through here. This stream is lit, haha. Haha. Just a quick question. I just purchased a Launchpad mini MIDI controller for my on-PC setup and was wondering if MA will recognize the buttons or if I'll have to use a translator. Depends. MA inherently recognizes notes. So if you have, it won't recognize control change. MIDI notes. So if it recognizes notes just fine, but if that doesn't send notes, then you'll have to use a translator. Extensively borrowed, yeah. I think on the drop I do want to do like some sweep movements or some sweep dimmer with the bitmap. Probably with the LEDs, and then do something different with the we could do pan wings -2 circle effects. That'd be fun. Yeah, go get some water, chat. I'm gonna have a sip of water here too. In case you guys were wondering, because I know everybody was, I'm literally like tethered. This is my, I don't have a belt pack for this. the one wireless receiver or transceiver system that I had is like not for hi-fi audio. Do I have to program the new Louis the Child songs? About half of them are done from the old tour. I'm not sure how much is going to be brought on to the next show, but they switch things up a lot, so I usually count on having to redo all of the tracks. Ooh, Abe Coulter with the $10 bomb for Q&A time. I have a console question. What is the best tips on buying a secondhand console? What to look out for? Damage that could affect performance, faults, how to spot a Chinese knockoff. For MAs specifically, as far as spotting the knockoff part, a lot of them don't have, like on the console surface, the you can't see them. The actual MA logo will always look kind of weird, and then a lot of times up on the back, or sorry, on the front of the tilting screen portion, they won't have the MA logo in there. And then probably the most obvious thing when I see a knockoff MA is well, it depends on how pro they went. If they're using like a fake on PC wing, you'll see an extra set of 6 faders here and then the 15, which is ridiculous and anybody should kind of be able to spot. But the biggest thing that I've noticed is they never get the angle of the tilting screen correct. So in their photos, they're like at 90 degrees tilted straight up, which the MA doesn't do. What you're seeing here is the maximum, and it's like at 80 degrees. And the bezels are always wrong. They always look so weird. I don't know. Anytime I've seen a Chinese MA, I actually haven't seen one in person. I've only seen photos of them. The bezels are like super wrong. And then, of course, the number one thing to do is get the serial number and check with either Act Lighting or Light Power, whoever your distributor is, whoever your like local distributor is. They don't care if you're buying a used console from somebody else. Like they'll check and reference it and see if A, it is a real serial number, and B, if it's been reported stolen or anything like that. So those are like my first kind of things. Also, non-Neutrik connectors on the back panel and 3-pin connectors instead of 5-pin for the XLR outs, for the DMX outs, excuse me. Those are like the number one things. And then as far as like condition and seeing if it's been used and abused, if you get a chance to, see if you can open it up or like get someone to take photos of it opened up, and see the level of dust that's on the inside. Big thing for me is the feel of the faders too. Like I really lucked out with my console because the faders are just like butter. They're not like MA3 faders butter, because the MA3 faders are freaking awesome. But if you feel any sort of like real resistance, then it's highly likely that it was a festival desk. And it may have been abused. But you can generally check the condition of like the paint and stuff like that. Hope that answers your question. Thank you for the donation. Take a few more, and then we'll get right back into it. Yeah, as other people are saying in the chat, just like it looks off. You could pretty much tell. It's like when you see a Fiero with a body kit and it's like trying to be a Lamborghini or a Ferrari. It's like oh whoa, wait a second. Like you can generally tell. Thanks for tuning in, Felix. I know it's 4 a.m. where you are, so I appreciate you hanging out. The rest of the stream will be uploaded as well. And the next stream is on Friday. It's going to be a fun stream, though. It's Pete's party stream. And then Saturday will be another full-length technical stream. I haven't decided what it's going to be on yet, but we'll see. We'll take one more question. Opinion on the Aura Pixel. I'm going to make a I'm going to see if I have time to make a video about my first impressions on that. I think it's interesting. I don't know. It's long overdue. I will say that. Hey CJ, 3 a.m. here in the UK. What exactly do you do from the 2x to the 4x queue? This would be a perfect segue for getting back into the programming. So basically the 2x to 4x. Let me show you here. We'll go on to screen number 2. So what I did is I first of all selected fixtures that had that effect already running in them. And then down under dimmer, since dimmer was the effect preset type that was running, I went to effect layer, and instead of having form in your default layer or your page 1, there are multiple pages that you can click through here, and one of those has speed. So I clicked on speed, I went in here, and I just typed in 150 instead of the 75 that it was at prior. But do keep in mind that that will stay that way because it's tracking, right? So that 150 is going to stay in there. And all that the effect pool is doing, it's just like a preset, right? It's just dumping in the data from the effect line into the queue. So that's why. Yeah, cheapest but hard to find way to unlock parameters per universe is the MANSP. I have one. That's going to be going in the timecode rack. I'm making that video tomorrow, I promise. And then it'll be up on Friday. Okay, back into the queues. So for that part, I want to have the beams fly out. Do like a full fan out, high position. Let's do low for here, mid for here. Whoa, I want to do that. Then higher. That should give us a somewhat decent spread. Maybe go even lower here. Yeah, I like that. And then we'll take, let's put these at full so I can temporarily deal with this. Okay, so that'll be our move position. So I'll store that in queue 17.2, which doesn't exist yet. It can be 0.5, it can be 0.2. As long as the number is in between the queue numbers that you want to store it in, it'll just generate a queue there. Except when it doesn't, because I forgot to type. There we go. Whoops, that was embarrassing. Move follow. And we'll make that a follow queue. Let's go. Cool. Oh, and I'm so dumb. Forgot to remove. Oh, whoops. I want to actually remove instead of taking it to 0. There's a difference when you're thinking about tracking and the values that are being tracked. So this will be a good moment at this hats queue. Why is this time set as a time code trigger? That makes no sense. Should it just be go? Here's a good question from Adam Stewart. Hey, from Northern Ontario, thinking about getting an MA3 node would be think getting an MA3 node would be better than a 2 node given it runs in mode 2. Yes. Pretty much the only on PC gear that I would buy right now would be nodes, because the command wing cannot run mode 2, but the nodes can. And you can get parameters in both. So if you want to have output from MA3 on PC, a node would be a good option. I'm trying to find a good deal on a 4K node right now. It's hard to come by. I thought more people would be selling off gear. Not that I think that's good. Okay. I think for the hats, just leave them alone, and now we just have a big marking queue to make. I don't know if I want to keep... I want to change the color here. Because, let me see here. Whoop, 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 whoop. I might switch back to red here, but I'm really not sure. We could do like a multicolored thing, or just leave it white. Yeah, I think we did a lot of red earlier, so we'll leave it white. And then what I like to do, I go to the drop queue. There's nothing here right now. But what you can do is say, okay, I know for sure my lights are going to be on right here. So store Q23. You should sell timecode racks. Yeah, right now I've got 2, and I already spent like quite a bit of money building them. Or buying the parts from them because one of them's not built yet. So what we could do, we could have a section of these fixtures be some sort of magenta. Could do the green. Though I don't really like that green. Yeah, we need to update the green here. My green preset leaves a little bit to be desired in my opinion. So I like the idea of having these green. Do these as the magenta. Thanks for tuning in, Nicholas. Appreciate you watching. I think what I might do, this is where the experimentation part is going to come in, guys. So you have to bear with me. Oh my god. Oh, by the way, very life-saving tip is that you can oops while using the layout view and it won't undo your whole selection. So if you mess up one square, if you just hit oops once, it'll be fine. I wonder if we could do sections in a circle based off of their position in the rig. So if we did the lights in the air, let's go to our page here. We'll add our pan tilt. And we can change our... one important thing is that you shouldn't ever rely, when you're doing like a template show file like this, you shouldn't rely on being able to have maximum speed available for your fixtures, because it might screw you over when you go to clone into a rig that has Elation Platinum Beam 5Rs, the originals. So I think what I want to do is maybe like a group of 12. Then pan wings -2, but then tilt wings stay the same. Let's do... Might have to do... let's do it this way. So that's like kind of what I was thinking, but not quite. What's the tablet in front of the MA used for? It's just an iPad that I use for like notifications, so I don't have to look at my phone. It just kind of pops up and I can read notifications, and if something important is happening, I can stop what I'm doing. That's all it is. Yeah, I'm not 100% sold on this. I might just make the size a little smaller. You can also do things like, change just the pan range. So don't be afraid to do that. Yeah, guys, don't spam chat with the same questions. Thank you for tuning in, but if there's a really, really good question, if the mods could maybe like highlight it or send it to me, that'd be awesome. Are there iOS apps for remote control of MA2/3? MA2 has what's called a web remote, so you can sign into it. You can sign into the console basically. It's not like an app. You don't like download the app. You just use a web browser and connect it to um, a Wi-Fi router that's connected to your lighting network. So I think this is good. One other thing you can do to kind of switch it up a little bit is change the ratios between the speeds of like pan and tilt. So if I do like 10 up here and 8 down here, yeah, I'm starting to like this. It doesn't look so copy paste, you know, even though I did literally copy paste the effect and then change it a little bit. It doesn't look like a circle, you know what I mean? I'm basically going to do the same thing with the pinks, except switch the ratios up, like change the ratios. And if we want to sync it together, hold down MA effect. So what I might do here is swap the high and the low values. And that can generally, you know, yield some decent results. I think that's looking better. So is this so this is live? Wait, what? Yeah, this is, if you're talking about this stream, that should be enough evidence that this is live. I mean, the show's not live. This is a computer rendering. Yeah, this is a live stream. This is not a recording. And we're going to be going for about another hour and a half. The delay is just because that's how streaming works. Streaming with high bit rates, not on Twitch. Oh, goodness. Okay. So, I like where this is right now. We can go back and make edits to those effects later, and they'll propagate into wherever I store this. So, we can store this effect here. And now we know that when I hit go, here's the thing though, wherever I store that is going to be where that effect starts. So I think I might actually move it a little further down. And you can even see them moving around in the background there. So if I highlight them, you can see, okay, they're starting to move now. But they don't start moving until the cue that says, this is a battle, this is a battle. You know, my vocalist training, I'm going to call him up. Alexa, strobe, yeah. Hey Christian, any idea on how to get accurate BPM into MA2 via telnet remote and show control so it refreshes every other second? You can have it so it refreshes instantly. I don't have it set up right now, but if you assign the variable BPM position for each deck in show control, it will, whenever they move the BPM slider, the tempo slider, it'll update. That's how I have it set up. Okay. So I've got the drop here, but I want to add a little bit of spice, just a little bit. So I think what I'll do is create another effect that does nothing but speed 1, rate 1. I don't want it to be a ramp. I want it to be PWM because I can control the width of it and you can control everything with the PWM form. So here's a quick little math trick for you guys. If you take your width and multiply it by the number of groups, if this is all in the same line, then the duration that each light is on will be the exact same duration as the other lights are off. So you see how there's no, if I were to change this to 50, you'd be able to see 2 lights at once, but I don't want that. That's pretty cool. I like that. But that doesn't really go along with what this part of the song sounds like. I kind of like where I had it way back before. Whoops. So maybe if we go 0 to 100, whoops. Wings of None, I think, is what I had. Yeah, timecode has changed from that's a good point. Timecode before was like, oh, I'm so cool, my lights run themselves. Now it's like I can't press all these buttons at once. Yeah, that's okay. I might put this as a temp button, I think. This effect. And then we could, oh my god, I just touched my eyeball. I'm gonna die. Do I use Avo lights sometimes? Haha. No, haha. I do not. I use MA. Good old Grand MA2. Actually, I just kind of want to see where it sits right now before I go too far down this rabbit hole and I don't like it anymore. Yeah, I think that I might change it to red later. Also, the effect didn't fire because my beam size is still... I haven't reversed that fader yet. Oh my god, I need to do that too. Maybe. I'm really not sold on it. I like that. Because it adds a little bit of energy. I'm going to add the other lights, and they'll be doing stuff too, but the beams, it's kind of important for EDM. How long on average does it take you to program a song? If there's nobody watching me and I'm not live streaming and explaining stuff as I do it, it really depends. Like, these dubstep songs take a long time because there's so many little details and like things that change really fast. So I would say for like a dubstep song, it's almost like it's about 4 hours per minute of audio. And that's if I'm doing like custom programming, like what I'm doing right now. I have another part of my show file where like I can break out a festival timecode track with about an hour per minute of audio. But if I'm doing like custom, like exact, like making new effects and doing all this stuff rather than just recording and laying down button presses, then it's going to be close to 3 hours per minute of song. So yeah, I think this is fine. And then the drop has to happen, or the effect has to happen at the drop because the lights will turn on with this effect. So what I've been kind of doing lately is doing this thing where I will, let me just show you here. It'll be easier. I'm going to make a new effect. We're on row 2 of the effects. Make our RGB mix color PWM. Change our low value to green, that preset that we were referencing earlier, and then magenta for the other preset we're referencing. And change our width. Okay, the width is 50, so that's cool. That works. And then groups of 1, so that they all behave in the same manner. And then we change our speed group to 1 because that is the one that is the master of our section here. Yo, listen up. But that's not too helpful because we want to do it at like a 0.25 rate. And this is where color wheels can come in handy too. So maybe we'll actually do it like a 0.13. Yeah. So what my plan here is to have them swap every like bar, and then every half bar have them do like a strobe hit on the shutter channel. So we'll copy that effect. First I will store that, so color 1. You could all do this in one effect with multiple lines, but I keep them separate. So now we go back and select our other fixtures that haven't been running in this effect. Take selection, run it, and then simply swap. You can even do direction backwards in this instant because we're at 50. But actually, just in case I want to change more values later, I'm going to swap these magenta, then green. So now, if I sync these together, yeah, the old back G button that does nothing. Yeah, BAC KG, the background button, has no function. It literally does nothing. It was, I believe, from when the MA2 had an MA1 mode. This was one of the only MA1 buttons, I believe. Maybe my lore is wrong on that. Okay, so back to this. Now what we could do is we could store this as a separate effect, clear this out. And now if we open this up, it's merged into one line, but it's two separate selections. So you can do this either one of those ways. You could either have it as two separate effects here, or if I clear out, one effect. I like keeping them as two separate in this particular example, just for future proofing it, if I want to change things up significantly. Oh, that's kind of crazy. See how it went to maybe what I'll do is I'll change the phase to be 90 degrees out of phase, because it kind of changed them almost immediately, didn't it? Whoop, 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 whoop. I gotta figure out why I'm just gonna turn off my beam inverters. Oh wait, what I could do. If I just store these at 100, that should solve my problem. For now. That'll screw me over later somehow, I'm sure. That first hat is going to bug me until I fix it, so I'm just going to do it now. That should be better now. There we go. Much better. I kind of like how it flashes to white for a second there as the flags come in and out. I'm going to leave it, even though it's like technically an artifact, due to the speed. Because like if you look at the layout view, they swap instantly. There's no white. That's just because the flags that change the color of the fixture are moving in and out. Sorry to be super elementary, but there are a lot of people in here who, you know, don't do this for a living. I guess none of us do this for a living right now. Okay. So now we will create another effect. It's going to be interesting to see how the workflow is with phasers now, since they're basically effects with multiple steps. Every queue has its own like little queue list now. It's kind of cool. So over here, we will grab our Speedmaster again. Pulse width. Change this to 25. Again, we'll do groups 1. I make it kind of even more cheeky and have the top. So to do that, we could do it with a 90-degree phase offset. Because our colors hit at 0 and 180. So I want this to be directly in between the colored snaps. Uh, 0.5 maybe? Let's see. Oh, I gotta change the high and low values. Hit them with the high and the low. Go from open to max strobe. So to fine tune this, I'm actually, instead of using the max strobe, I'm going to use closed. Some weird thing going on with the speed because they're not quite the same. Kind of weird. Speed 1. Oh, I see why. So to get it, this is one of the more annoying things about MA, in that you can't go further down with decimal places on rates of things. Oh god. I suppose what I could do in the future is set a divisor for my main queue lists, but I don't really want to do that right now. And kind of screw everything up going forward for other ones. Am I understanding, Graham Sutherland asks, am I understanding correctly that the workflow on a timecode track is to set time markers which then create sort of chunks of time that you can then slot cues/effects into? The only thing timecode does is it indicates to the desk at what position we are in a line of time, linear timecode. And the MA takes that data, that time, where we are in the universe, or where we are in that timeline, and then says, okay, well, my instructions say that at this exact frame, I'm supposed to be doing this action on something that is stored in the desk. An executor. It's playing back executors. It doesn't do anything else, just executors. So commands that don't fire through, you can't like timecode a command explicitly. You can like put them into a queue and fire them that way, but it's purely playing back playbacks in the exact way that you have described in the pool item, right? So these pool items store all of the instructions for what we're doing at every frame. And that's it. Okay, so now I can go back and swap in this 0.26. It's just annoying. Don't really want to do it that way, but I was like noticing that it was kind of drifting, if you noticed, because I can't put 0.125 as 1/8. You can't put that in there. So we'll swap this out with max strobe. Cool. So now that'll play back with this. So on that like little section, where is it? The bass guitar, I think. No, just the regular guitar. The electric guitar where it does the chords. Maybe it's a bass guitar. I can't tell. Yeah, the white edges are an artifact of it, but I like it, so I'm going to keep it. Yeah, if you're choosing between the MA2 and MA3 command wing, I would buy the MA2 command wing for sure. I want to make a button that does, Let's make one that pauses the speed. It stomps the dimmer. So if we bring the speed to 0, I think this is a recent bug. I'm not sure, because with speed, you should be able to, even if I do link single, I should theoretically be able to just reduce the speed without stomping the effect. I had some weird issues where this wasn't working though. Last time I tried this. So it didn't stomp, so let's see. Okay, so it does work now. So it's basically like a pause button. Kind of like we just hit the big pause button in the sky. That's kind of sick. Yeah, that part's gonna be nuts. The sound design is just like, it just never quits. See, I don't know why it stomps it here. Is it because auto stomp is on? Doesn't make any sense. Am I crazy? It wasn't stomping before when I did that. And watch. Yeah, I think I'm just going to do red and white on this one. I'm not really... Oh. My chair almost fell over. I think I'm going to keep this one non-green and white, or green and purple. So now I can just swap this out. Oops, not red and red, not red and green. That's for damn sure. Yeah, I'm just going to keep it red and white. Yep. Yeah, I don't know why it, maybe it's a priority thing. Because if I call this into the programmer and do cell fix, it shouldn't, see, like, I'd never stored pan or tilt info in here. I'm not crazy. I feel like this is maybe a bug. My speed is the only thing that changes. Hmm. Hmm. So while I ponder this in my mind, we're up to another hour. We're at 2 hours out of 3. So let's take some chatteroni questions. Let's see, what do we got? Have I ever used Onyx? Actually, this will be an interesting upcoming video. I was doing a club installation, right? Like literally, we were gonna install lights the week after everything got shut down, but everything's shut down now, so we're not doing that install. But it was very challenging because there was a very low budget for everything. I mean, everything always has a low budget, it seems, but this was especially so. But yeah, that's an Onyx build. What is a timecode rack? It is a collection of equipment in a nice, tidy little box. One of mine is currently sitting at my feet right now. It takes in timecode, it distributes it, and sends it to all of the hardware in our system that needs to read it. Could you explain how MA recognizes in which position the current track is live? How does this work if the DJ is making transition? That's like my job. So I have to decide when we do the transition and which track we're listening to, because you can't really you can listen up to they're called 8 timecode streams. Timecode streams, that's like in your slots. So if we go into MA in timecode, we have 8 timecode slots available. So each one can be its own stream. So you can have up to 8 different timelines being followed simultaneously, and then you just kind of you can make it smart with when it fades between or transitions between, but you can have like an A and a B, and then switch all of your timecode or your next incoming track. This is the way I do it. I detect using show control which track is next, and then I can change which timecode slot that track's timecode pool is listening to. And then I also timecode when the transition starts. That's how. Favorite moving light of all time? I really like the Mega Pointy. I haven't used, like honestly, I haven't used as many fixtures as I would want to in order to make that judgment. But it's it's my personal favorite. I love it. What is a good camera cheaper than the A6400? That's a loaded question because I don't know what you're doing with it. How do you tell what does the low and high value do in MA? Well, if you have it, if the effect that you're changing the low and the high values of is a selective effect, or it has like fixture information stored in it, then you can reference presets. But if not, then you're just using the to and from values in the fixture profile. So if you're in the fixture profile, let's just go to a random one here. Go like fixture types, color force, and we like edit this row. So this color RGB is just being referenced between the from and the to values here. And that's true of template effects as well. So you can do that either with selective effects or template effects. It's useful in multiple scenarios. Do those 8 streams come in via network? Technically, everything, all data within the MANet network is shared across all stations. So in that sense, it's in the network, but it is brought into the network by either analog SMPTE cables, like literally 3-pin XLR microphone cable, that plugs into the back of the console. So in this particular setup, I have the SMPTE input slot in the back of the console set up as timecode slot A. Usually, right now I'm using A as the Reaper file, and then timecode slot 2 is from MIDI timecode translation. So that in that timecode box there is a little translator that takes a second incoming stream of timecode and then converts it to MIDI timecode and sends it to a computer that is connected to the session. I've been looking at ArtNet recently and was intrigued that it runs over UDP, which is low overhead but has no delivery or in-order receive guarantees. Yeah, ArtNet is a pretty, at this point, I would say, ancient way of sending DMX over Ethernet. Streaming ACN is superior right now. I think there's some experimental ArtNet versions that are being developed, but I don't know. Yeah, the old M1s were kind of cringe. The Maxes was cool though. There's a Maxes on eBay right now for like $2,000. I'm really tempted. Do I have any advice on getting into the industry? Well, right now, you should just, if you're not in the industry right now and you want to be when everything comes back, there's probably going to be a lot of people that either quit permanently or at least for a while. So there might be some vacancies, but we just don't know for right now if things are going to come back quickly or slowly or at all. So learn stuff like this, MA, Resolume, yeah, anything like that you can learn. Vectorworks. Yeah, I've already got Delos rocking for the club install. It's funny that Delos got announced like the week that we found out we couldn't do the do it anymore. Does MA PC software require a license to use? Not in the, if you're just using the software, it's free. But if you want to connect the software to real lights, like in the real world, or connect it to an external visualizer, like Capture, you can still have a 3D screen, which this on the console is literally just the stage view. This is like a wireframe version of this, but you would be shocked at how good MA3D looks. There's a lot of people out there who spend a lot of time on MA3D visualizer shows, and they look sick. Have you been allowed to operate the light on Tomorrowland? No. Have not been to Belgium. Did you see the reveal for the new Martin wash fixture? Yeah, I did. I wouldn't really call it a reveal, though. It's more like, what is my lock screen image? Right now it's just, you ready for this? Pretty crazy. Yeah, nothing fancy. Nothing fancy. Okay, back to programming before we lose more people. Where were we? Oh yeah, we're still only a minute into the track. So I believe I had switched the colors, and for some reason... So I'm not sure why... What is causing that? There's something funky going on here. It's absolute mode. Absolute mode. Red and white, right? White and red. See what I mean? How it kind of, the white is not. Maybe because I like forgot to update the white preset. I don't think so though. Yeah, no, it looks right. All right, let's back it up here. Let's see. Break it down into its parts. So there's our problem. Oops. It's so weird. I mean, I'm watching it. Oh, it's because this is in there. Understood. So sometimes I have the red color wheel in the preset, but I don't really want to do that right now. I'm just gonna remove it. If I die, I die. Why is it still in there? Oh, whoops, I don't have the viz up. Sorry. My bad. I'm genuinely confused. I guess I could just do it that way then. Could go to our white preset and then turn off our color mix white. Turn off the dimmer and update that Q. There. Mystery solved. I'm going to change the dimmer effect completely. I hate it. I really hate it. Hate, hate, hate. I'm okay with the strobe, I think. Maybe. Did you go to school for this, or you just build a reputation for yourself? I did not go to school for it, but I started off. If you if you look at really old videos on my YouTube channel as well, you'll see that I used to be a DJ, and I went to one big festival and decided that I wanted to do big shows for real, because I always had like little tiny light shows that I would bring around with my DJ gear. And I decided I wanted to do that instead. Stuff like this is cool, but it's more powerful when you have a static position look rather than movement. So instead, I'm basically just using the inverse to find the right equilibrium, if you will. So at 80, we have one section of lights on at a time. So now I'll just swap these. You can also change the width since it's PWM, but whatever. When I'm changing the width here, I'm basically deciding how many trusses I want to have on at any given time because of the way I selected it. I selected it by truss and then changed the groups to the number of trusses. So when you have a template file, it's a lot quicker to just have trusses of equal numbers of things for later when you clone. Yeah, so I like that. No, I don't like it. I'm going to totally change this later, but I think we should move on. Yeah, I mean it's like it's a cool look, but it's not right for this moment, I don't think. Yeah, wipes on the JDCs with snares. That's a good idea. Do like a left, right. Yeah, I like that. Good idea. So the thing to keep in mind about programming bitmaps is that they take one lower priority than everything else. So if we do dim bitmap, and then my image is here. So down on my main screen here, or screen one, excuse me, I've got all of my most commonly used images. But a lot of times I'll just use the good old bar horizontal.png. Nothing wrong with that. So to do this properly, we have to, let me make sure I do this right. Yeah, there we go. I wonder if I can do presets as release values. Or preset 1 be a release. And then preset 2 be shoot. Do I have a dimmer preset for full? Mm-hmm. No, that won't work that way. So this would be referencing a dimmer preset that I haven't made yet. So scrap that for now. Let's make a quick preset for... Actually, I wonder... I'm trying to think of ways to make it so that it only happens on the LED. There's a couple ways to do it, but... I mean, maybe it's alright. I might tone the movement down a little bit. That might be it, right? You're one of my favorite content creators on YouTube. Keep it up and stay safe. Thanks, Evan. Appreciate you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't really want to... Wait, like some delay presets for the dimmer preset type. Delays don't really go in presets. I'm not sure what you mean. I mean, you can, but it doesn't... Not for bitmapping. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna make a new dimmer preset page. Oh wait, I already have some. That'll be preset 2, I guess. Preset 2 and then release? No, that can't be right. Maybe it is release. Yeah, I guess we'll just do it here. So for our left wipe, we can start, see how I'm, oh, you can't see now. Let me go back a couple cues here. So I'm changing the X position of this bar that I've rotated 90 degrees so I can wipe it across. So I can start here and create, let me move these out of the way. Got one cue to go this way. And then within here, I can change so like 0.65 for the fade time. And then change the assignment on the executor so that it restarts on the first cue every time. And now I have a cue that wipes across. Like that. Because that X position is just changing of the bitmap. There's no like dimmer values stored here. But you see how the, do you see how, I mean, maybe you can or you can't. My point is that even though I'm doing it this way, it looks like the center is coming on. The center of the, which doesn't make sense because there's no, I don't know why the middle tube would be coming on, but the tube is coming on in the visualizer. Have I ever had an MA2/MA3 crash? Yes, I have. It happens occasionally. Usually you have a backup in session. I always do. So the show really doesn't know any difference. The only thing to remember about crashes is that you should not add, well, it depends on the situation, but be careful when thinking about adding back in a station that crashed, because when it comes back into the session, guess what? It's going to have to resync all the data and download the show file again. And when that happens, all the output stops. So be careful. If you absolutely like need to have your backup running again, then it takes like 15 seconds. But just be careful. I'm really not sure why these JDCs are turning on the, I'm going to show you. The center strip is turning on, but I don't see why it should. Just don't get it. It's not in this, the tube is not stored into this layout view unless I'm targeting a different layout. Which layout am I targeting here? Ah, found it. So I had my output set to layout 2 instead of layout 10. My bad. JDC wipe right. Hey, there we go. It's fixed now. So I guess we can use the capture camera to reposition itself. Go back to the defaults. There we go. Probably going to take the probably going to take the spots out, and I can do that. Remember how I said priorities? If I take the spots to 0 here, or I guess what I could do, you can either make a world for this, or you can store the spots at 0 in Q1, and then they will not react to the bitmap. But I'm a little worried about what that's going to do with the spots in regard to other playbacks. So I could just lower the priority here, or change it to soft LTP. Yeah, I think I'll just do that. So we could do like a wipe left, a wipe right. So I'll call Q2. Just throw that as my new Q1 over here. Q1. And then just throw this as a second Q. Yeah, I like that idea of having the LEDs wipe each way with the snare. So we'll just copy our time configuration of 0.4 because I like that. And make sure our assignment is restart first queue. First queue. Something's already messed up. Let's go to bitmaps 10. I think what I'll have to do is suffix at Q1 through 2. Store Q1. There we go. Hello from France. Hello. What's up, radio, audio, and DMX? Thank you for tuning in. It's probably, what, 5 a.m. there? Thanks for saying hello. So now I have to decide. I have to make the decision about what else I want to include in those wipes. Ah, I messed that one up. Pause. Stop everything. So the last two are messed up. We'll go zoom out a little bit. So these last two were totally boned. I messed them up royally. This is and now I can change all the timings. I can even like change the width of it. I'm gonna totally change like the dimmer, the beams and stuff. So please, like, I'm actually just gonna so those little I don't know if you can hear them in there, but there are little bits of like filtered, where is it? That right there. I want to add full strobe there. So those two moments have that now. Advance those. Just gonna move them back like 3 frames. That's all. Da, da, da. Douglas says bitmaps seem convenient for images / text patterns. Yeah. I use Madrix for more like complex patterns and stuff, but for basic like wipe, left, right, stuff that is mapping to just intensity, I think it's pretty good. Then you can use things like VPU, even though it's kind of discontinued. Am I going to record these shows so we can see a real show compared to visualization? Maybe. Yeah, this isn't just a this isn't for an actual show. It's just for my template file. And then this file at the beginning of every month, I upload the template file into my Patreon Google Drive folder. So if you want to open it up and see all this stuff, I upload it at the beginning of every month, like usually the 3rd or the 4th. And then you can play it back, you know, except you're gonna see this version. You're not gonna see the capture stage unless you have parameters unlocked. So here's a quick tip for just like completely deleting all of the data out of a queue, because I don't want to do this anymore with this queue. you can just hit store, click the button, hit overwrite if it's a single queue. So now there's nothing stored here. This is also cool because if you wanted to like just delete spot information from one fixture, you can just select the fixture, or you can go into a world that has just those fixtures in it and then do that store overwrite thing, and it'll delete everything in that world in that queue. Taco Bell update, it's the same. Hasn't moved in 16 months. It like literally nothing has moved. Occasionally there's a new like broken glass window. Part 1 rename macro. I don't know. Oh, it just renames everything in my show file for that one song so that I can reference it in other macros. Yeah, the MA3D works in my file. I just don't have an MA3D window pulled up right now. All I have is stage view. I know we've seen this a million times, but this is how time coding is. So I want to do something. Let's figure out this drum fill thing because I'm kind of pissed off at the other section right now. What if we do inside to outside with the beams? Or maybe, I have an idea. I think that's the same as it was before. Full. I can store the data and then work on the delay stuff later. Ah, I forgot to type it in. Or copy paste it. Oops. Yeah, I mean the Taco Bell has been under construction for, or under renovations for almost 2 years now, probably 2 years exactly. Here's a trick. You can, since I did those delays in the previous set of queues with the little like delay wipe outwards, I can select the fixtures again without having to do it because I want them to then turn off in the same order once they get to their destination. I just selected them and then I can hit the @ button and point to that queue and then turn off the things that I don't want to continue from there, and then change this to there, off. And now, They should go in the same order. Except there's some weird... I made a selection error. This is why I use layout view more than any like 3D visualizer. It just shows the little mess ups like that a lot easier. So that was supposed to be this. I'm not sure how it got messed up, but it did. And we'll store that here as well. More is messed up than I originally saw. Did I type it wrong? 0.2 through 0 through 0.2, right? Maybe I just can't see it properly because of the fact that it or that, oh, there goes my face light. Let me put the battery in. Another battery. If I have it. Maybe I don't. That's okay. We can survive without it. We made it this far. Except now it's really bugging me. Where did I put my big battery pack? I thought it was like literally right here. Oh well. Let's continue. Can't dwell on things like that. Dimmer delay. See, this is so weird. 0.25 maybe through 0 through 0.25. Copy it. Let me try it this way. And then store to both of them. I feel like I'm crazy because there's like some weird delay going on. And I don't mean the actual delay, you guys. 0.1, maybe this will help. I mean, that kind of helps. It's definitely going in the right order. So now let's see how bad that... Ba 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 ba. Told you I'd return to it. Maybe it's just the combination of the shutter and the dimmer chase, dimmer effect. Maybe that's it. Yeah, ISO to the max. It's a big difference. That'll be the thing I fix for next time. Just slowly improving the stream. Yeah, so I think eventually I'm going to finish off the song with the lighting, and then we'll do the timecode streams next week on how to do the camera movements and stuff and like make it look pretty. I need to make a different selection here. I don't really like it. We go out, 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 up, 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 up. And I messed up a selection order. I always do that. Oh, I kind of like that. Yeah, that's cool. I can get on board with that and then maybe update some other things. And I think, I mean, for sure, I'm going to want to turn these guys off for that section. So for that, so instead of that, I'm going to call the data and store that instead into the main queue list because I also have it queued out there. Yeah, let's boost this ISO, baby. I pay for Sony, so I might as well use the ISO, right? Oh, that's too much ISO. What was I doing? Oh yeah. So go add this to here and then do our overwrite trick again. And then I can, here's another trick. I'll show you another one. I'm going to undo that store and undo that store and store a range of queues. So if you can't see what I'm doing on here, I'm dragging down through a range of queues and then only highlighting the ones that I want to change. and I'm going to turn on this queue only, then hit merge. And since we are in the queue that is after that merge, that will resume. So it comes back after that range of queues has changed. We'll go for a few more minutes here and then answer a few questions, and then we'll sign off for the evening. Yeah, camera movements and capture. That's how you create presentations, because actually this stage, I showed this yesterday, but just in case you haven't seen it. So this is kind of what the stage looks like, naked. And when we take away when we put all the stuff back in to make it look pretty. Right, let me bring the screen up too. Our frames per second just get decimated, quite literally decimated, from 50 frames down to 5. That's what decimated means, by the way. If you didn't know, decimated doesn't mean like obliterated. Decimated means reduced like 90%. Okay, so I'm gonna go turn that filter back on for gamma view. Max performance. And we're back. Capture apparently like retooled a bunch of the back end of things, so it takes a few seconds for it to like stabilize and get back to normal. Okay. Christian trick tips, yeah, that's right. Play some content. I mean, I don't really have anything time coded in here. Oh, you guys are just seeing what I'm scrolling through. That's all just the time code layers. You know, there's silly stuff in here, VJ Essentials packs. We'll be using these to add more to the time code. You know, just some really generic, but still decent quality stuff. And then I have it set up through the MA so I can program the video as well. So if I grab layer, what is that, busking clips? Yeah. Then I can use the color picker to change the color of the screen content. And, you know, do all of the, and then we can do all the same things we would do with a normal like lighting fixture. For example, we could do that strobe that we had on the color forces earlier. You can treat resolume just like a fixture. What dimmer effect is this? I'll pull it up on screen. I like it. I'm still not 100% sold on it. So it's a ramp minus at a rate 1 with a selection order that starts from the top, goes outward, 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 all the way down. And then groups by trusses. Oh, my hands freaked myself out. I was looking at the screen and my hands came down here. It freaked me out. How long did it take you to learn MA? I'm still learning. I'm by no means an expert. I'm just like the only dude who makes videos like this and does I'm saying like there are other people who make tutorials, but I don't know of anybody else who like does vlog videos and really does more than just like tutorials. There are plenty of other good tutorial guys out there for sure. Alex Hughes. How does the resolume output integrate to capture? Good question. And we're at a full 3 hours now, so I think I'm gonna wrap this part up and we'll go into the Q&A. So in Resolume, if you go to Advanced Output, Control-Shift-A, this is where you can choose where you're sending different sections of your composition. So your composition is where everything plays back. It's like the canvas, right? And then you can create different slices to output different sections of your composition to different parts of your output. So usually like a festival will have a map that will essentially, imagine if you were to take your regular 1080p computer screen, it would be sliced up by sections according to the actual pixel size and areas of the LED screens on the stage. So the pixel map doesn't have to correlate whatsoever with where everything is oriented in 3D space. It is just a 2D layout to condense all the pixels onto one output. Is that annoying? Is that annoying? Is that annoying? And then where you do the arrangement is through arranging your slices. So if I pop over to, oh, that's the MacBook. I don't have it turned on right now, as you can see. So this slice here is underneath my NDI output. This is a screen. That's what Resolume calls it. And each screen has its own device to be output on. In this case, it's NDI, but I can also output it over virtual output, which is useful for programming in advance when you have literally no display. If I were to click on display 1 here, it would populate this entire screen we're looking at with the output from Resolume. I have it set to NDI, which you can do by downloading NDI tools. I don't think it exists naturally in Resolume Arena, but wrong screen. But yeah, so this NDI output shows up in Capture. Let me bring this guy back up. So you can see my frame rate is really good in here, but in Capture it sucks. Sucks so bad. Let me turn off our lighting so that maybe we can have a better chance of seeing what's going on here. So in Capture, you can assign materials to things. And each one of these tiles, when they are combined together, I switch to wireframe here. This can, this whole red area that I've selected can take, you can map an input to it. So if I were to go in here and, oh, excuse me, wrong button, map material, I can move this virtual screen. But I don't want to. I'm going to leave it how it is. And that material is down here in my materials tab, as you might imagine. Ignore all my empty materials. And down here on the video, there is a texture media. So, oh, that didn't really help at all, did it? So this texture media is linked to our media tab. You can see all the different stuff I have going on in here. And I'm simply seeing this output from my desktop here. Wow. I am seeing, because Capture is on my desktop right now. We're screen viewing my desktop. This Arena NDI output is coming from the laptop on the network. And you can see over here the host IP address 192.168.1.2. So that comes into here. I apply the texture media, and then you can tweak the color. I have it set around 50, but let's see what 70 looks like on each one of these. They just need to be balanced. And then you can change the brightness and the different properties of the material here. That's pretty much it. What other questions do we have? Jason says, pretty sure NDI is a default option in Resolume now, at least in 7. That's cool. I wasn't sure. I've been using Resolume since like 5 or 6. I can't remember exactly. I just know that it wasn't always there for sure. And I already have NDI tools installed on pretty much any computer that I'm using in a production capacity. Why is there a helicopter in your capture file? Because I'm in a hangar at an airport, dude. Of course. My whole show takes place in a hangar. There's a little can't remember what this one is. It's not a TBM though. And yeah, they have little lights on them too. Meow. Maybe that'll be for another stream. We can use the motion controllers in capture to make them fly around and stuff. Can you send SMPTE over Ethernet to control Resolume and Madrix? No. I mean, not like as a protocol. You can send it over a Cat5 cable. We do that pretty frequently. Is there any way to get an NDI stream into MA3D? I don't think so. Pilatus PC12. Yeah, you're right. That is a Pilatus. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up in the next 2 or 3 minutes here. Get your final questions in. Oh, I guess I can switch over to the nice mic now. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, get your final questions in. Douglas Carmichael asks, if you had a tightly coordinated intro for an event, would you fire the sound cues via OSC or MIDI from the MA cues, or let the sound people handle it? I'm going to let the sound people handle it. That sounds like a whole nother job that I don't want to be responsible for screwing up. Douglas with another heater. With Vectorworks, can you easily program / visualize a show and then generate a plot quickly to make transitioning to the real thing easy? Yeah, that's the whole purpose of Vectorworks. There are people who make whole careers over generating paperwork with Vectorworks. I can't pilot that plane. It has I'm not rated for that type of plane. Jack Corgiet with the $1 donation. Thank you. Can I do a tutorial on cloning on your show file? Yeah, that's kind of the plan. I want to get a couple timecode songs done. Once we get tired of that, I'll probably do 2 or 3 timecode songs for these live streams. And then we can kind of move on to, like, we'll literally do this as a progression, right? So you like start with building your show file, programming it, making a busk file, then doing some timecode songs. Then you go do the show. It'll be like a whole linear progression thing. Hey, Christian, can you program camera movements into MA3D? Yes, you can. What's the best way to clone JDCs in multi-instance mode? You just need to make worlds and create good layout views. Like if you look at my layout view for the JDCs, let me go. Where did you go? Clone all. There we go. Oh, it still doesn't work. Sorry. You just need to make a good layout view that has them oriented how they are in real life. And then create worlds for each type of instance. So like all of the RGB pixels go into a LED world, the strobe part goes into the strobe world, the tube cells go into a blinder world. As long as you separate it out like that, you'll be fine. Will I do ASMR on the stream? I don't know. You tell me. Chris Van Lieshout, thank you for posting all these live streams and vlogs. It has really helped me advance in my career. Well, thank you. I'm glad to hear that. That's like literally the whole point. I'm glad to hear that that's reality. Where do you buy VJ clips? I buy them off of the Resloom website. But you can probably source them from other places than I can. Okay. We'll wrap things up here. Say our final goodbyes. And yeah, tomorrow I'm going to be spending the whole day making the video that has to be uploaded on Friday because that doesn't exist yet. DJM V10 mix, that is on the list of Friday night streams coming up. I'm not sure what we're going to do this Friday night. Maybe we'll either do like Half-Life Alyx or we'll do a DJM V10 stream. We'll kind of switch it up a little bit. Mukbang on live stream would be a treat. Please do. I think I'll pass on that. Okay, guys, I'm going to wrap things up. I'll stay in the chat room for a few more minutes. So if you want to still talk over there, yeah, feel free to hang out. I'll be hanging out in the chat as well. Or you can check out the Discord that is linked in the description, as well as schedule for the next who knows how many weeks. So thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate you hanging out. See you in the next stream.